Hi, I'm Pam, and I'm here to talk about retro video games. Today I'm talking about what I've always considered to be the best game in one of my favorite adventure series. It's Quest for Glory 4: Shadows of Darkness. Shadows of Darkness was developed by Sierra Online and first released for PC in December of 1993. The following year, it re-released on CD-ROM in a version that added voice acting and fixed a number of bugs and gameplay issues. This is the version that I've always played. As with the previous games in the series, Quest for Glory is a wonderful combination of point-and-click adventure and role-playing. There's a focus on having conversations with other characters, finding items, and solving puzzles. But there's also combat, character customization, and stat growth, along with multiple ways to solve most problems, depending on which class you're playing. You can choose to be a fighter, a magic user, or a thief. This time around, I played a thief, but I also put points into magic to give myself more options during the game, which is a way I play frequently. I love how Shadows of Darkness opens. Most other games, including the past 3 glorious quests, start you out slowly, in a town or some other place of safety that you then venture out from. But not this one. Here, you start out in the creepiest of caves with no idea of what you're doing, where you are, or how you got there.
Where are you? How did you get here? Who brought you here? And how in blazes can you get out of here?
There are altars and skeletons all around, tentacles reach for you as you cross a chasm. It seems like there's much to discover in this place, but it won't be until later. You escape and find yourself face to face with a mysterious young woman named Katrina, who seems awestruck by your emergence. She tells you that you are in Mordavia and offers some advice to keep you alive before she rushes off into the darkness.
Oh, by the way, my name is Katrina. I hope we meet again sometime. Farewell.
Now you have to find your way through an ominous forest that seems very maze-like until you get to know it. It's dark, and you need to find safety before the many beasts and monsters that roam the land make a meal out of you. If you do end up in combat here, the game isn't cruel. It'll likely be against a killer rabbit as opposed to a wraith. You can take it on, or you can... When you finally make your way to the town, ready to help everyone out and be a hero in this new land, you find out the townspeople are not only unimpressed, but actively hostile towards you.
You! How did you get here? Why are you here?
They do not like strangers here, and you've got your work cut out for you. Though this is the 4th game in the series, this is what introduced me to Quest for Glory. I had a friend in elementary school whose dad used to pirate a lot of computer games. I'd go over to her place after school and we'd sit side by side at the computer trying to go through the puzzles together. Eventually, her dad burnt me a copy of my own to take home, and later I would get the entire Quest for Glory anthology and play through them all legitimately. I remember being so intrigued by how open the game was. There's little direction as to what you should be doing first, and the townsfolk are none too eager to help you. The Burgomeister, who runs the town, tells you not to get caught outside after dark and gives you a bit of a lay of the land, but is not at all willing to reveal any of the many problems there are to be solved here. You can visit the Abandoned Adventurers Guild to get stronger and maybe find a few secrets. There's a creepy monastery that's just as dangerous as it looks, and the house of a mad scientist that'll make you jump through some hoops before you can enter it. The people here seem sad, run down by the town's isolation. Though the shopkeeper Bella is cheerful, she mentions missing her husband, and a confused old man wanders around outside, asking if you've seen his wife Anna. The best thing to do is go out and explore. This is one of those games where making a map of the area will do you a lot of good in the long run. One thing I really like is that if you look at the area, you'll get a description of what's around you, including landmarks you can see off in the distance. This gives you some ideas for possible places to go next. Among the beautiful green scenery, you'll find all kinds of nice little surprises and encounters. Shadows of Darkness takes its inspiration from Slavic mythology. You'll be running into creatures like a Leshy, who will give you riddles to solve, and a Rusalka, who just wants you to come in the water and keep her company for a while. Come on, she's so cold and lonely. I know you want to. This being a Sierra game, there are a lot of ways to get yourself killed. So save often. But also enjoy the pun-filled eulogies that will accompany each death. Being able to deal with puzzles in multiple ways and even experiencing different content based on the class you've chosen and skills you've picked is really one of the things that makes this whole series special. As a thief, I could find the hidden Thieves Guild in the town, learn how to disarm traps, and even steal from the townspeople at night. Puzzles were often solved using acrobatics or industrious use of my tools like a grappling hook and lockpicks. Wizards, on the other hand, have a wide selection of spells, like Open for opening locks, or Glide to levitate over dangerous ground. Fighters use Force, and I rarely find them to be the most interesting of classes, except for in the third game. And if you've carried over your saves from previous games, you can be a Paladin, who can use their strength and courage to solve some problems the other classes just can't. Though Shadows of Darkness is immensely enjoyable, even if it's your first Quest for Glory game, there are many reasons to start at the beginning and carry your character through the whole series. You'll also enjoy many references, Easter eggs, and encounters with characters you've met before. Baba Yaga is back, as hungry and pun-loving as ever.
So, what'll it be, kids? Hero sandwiches or hero on the half-shell? Seeing as he is already frozen, we could just settle for a little ice cream sundae with whipped cream and nuts.
Aside from the typical adventuring, this game also features excitement and danger in the form of combat. Your class and the skills that you've been building impact how this plays out as well. The combat is honestly never the strongest part of this series, but I think this is the best it gets. You get a side-on view of you and your opponent. There aren't a ton of different enemy types, but each one does require a different strategy. Melee attacks and parries will be the bulk of combat for fighters. Thieves can use acrobatics and jump around a lot to play more defensively while also throwing daggers. And mages have a selection of spells to use. No matter what class you're playing, you'll need to keep an eye on both your health and stamina, lest you be defeated. The timing of the combat can be a bit weird, but overall it works pretty well. If you're not into it though, there's an auto battle option which is excellent. Before combat starts, the music will change and you can see your enemy running at you from the edge of the screen. You can chip away at their health by throwing rocks before they get to you, or cast some protective spells. Or you can just run away. That's always a valid option. Pretty much anything you do as you play will increase your stats in some way. If you want to, you can spend time climbing random trees in the forest until you get good at it. Running everywhere will increase your stamina, or you can stealth, even when there's nothing to hide from, to increase that stat. There are hard checks, like if you get locked out of town after sundown, you need a certain minimum to climb over the gate. Of course, there are other options to get you inside as well. Time plays a big part here. Certain events will happen on specific days. One thing that really kicks things off is the Gravekeeper Igor going missing on day 3. This is the first time that people in the town will loudly complain about a problem and entertain the idea of you helping them. There are also things that only happen at night, and Katrina will come visit you outside town on certain evenings. You can't really miss anything totally, at least in my experience, though I frequently found myself doing things out of order. Once I found Igor before I even knew he was missing. One of the big tasks in this game is to find a number of rituals of the Dark One. Though it doesn't tell you that until a ways in, after certain events have transpired, you'll likely come across some before that. There is a sleep and rest system to use to forward time when you need to, which is great in theory, but I have no idea why they added 10 and 30-minute increments as options. These are absolutely useless, and the game really could have used a rest until dark option rather than having to rest for an hour multiple times. Talking to all the characters, slowly unraveling more about them, finding out and helping to remedy the terrible things that they've been through is all really satisfying. The writing in this game, for the most part, and all of the voice performances are an absolute delight. This game is full of humor, tons of references, and puns. So many puns. You'll find the cask of Amontillado, even drink from it if you're feeling daring. There's a running gag about the Thieves Guild and the Maltese Falcon. For the first time in the series, it's brought to life with an absolutely fantastic voice cast. The whole game is narrated by John Rhys Davies, known from Lord of the Rings, Indiana Jones, and of course, Sliders. He brings a certain gravitas to the role, even when he's making silly puns.
This headstone reads, "On a dare, Pasha Sperry spent the night in the cemetery. Something gave him such a fright that now he sleeps here every night."
Katrina would be the first video game voice acting role for Jennifer Hale, who went on to be quite ubiquitous in a number of great games like Mass Effect and Knights of the Old Republic.
I hope you don't think I am too forward. It's just that I don't meet many new people around here. I love to hear about your adventures.
The cast on the whole is very impressive and also includes Bill Farmer, the voice of Goofy.
2 and 2 and 2 make 6. A little bush is in a fix.
Jim Cummings, the voice of Winnie the Pooh.
Welcome again to the gates of the Castle Borgov. I hope that you've been enjoying your visit to Moldavia.
And Russie Taylor, famous for being Minnie Mouse's voice for decades.
Toby's my best friend. We play games and tell stories, and I never had a real friend before.
Sierra did not skimp on the voice talent here. The townspeople who are always hanging around the inn at night are doing their best impressions of Rodney Dangerfield and Jack Nicholson, and often go off script in hilarious ways.
Look, here we are sitting around here minding our own business, Cochise, and here you waltz up and interrupt us.
Here, here's $10. Get a real haircut, okay? You don't seem to realize we're very important men around here.
Right. Just because no one else seems to think so doesn't invalidate the point.
However, they're also the source of the one part of the game that really makes me cringe. When Igor goes missing, they capture a man from a roving band of people who have set up a camp a ways from town. They think he's a werewolf who ate Igor. This starts a rather long tirade about gypsies. Now, in 1993, I don't really think it was recognized that this is a slur we shouldn't use. But it's not just the word, it's the long rant about the bad qualities of these people that were taken from real-life prejudices that makes this all very uncomfortable. You do end up freeing the man, Davy, and clearing his name. You also become friends with his people who help you with your various quests and read your fortune so many times. Also, it turns out they can become wolves. Getting back to the good stuff though, in addition to humor, the game has a lot of heart. As you do heroic things and start bringing some hope to Mordavia, the icy exteriors of the locals start to melt. I think this is best exemplified by the town's burgomeister. While at first he's mostly interested in when you'll be leaving, as you prove yourself useful, he slowly begins to trust you and even expresses care for your well-being.
You do not need to go looking for trouble. It will always find you. Please take care.
While many of the game's quests involve ogresses or Lovecraftian monsters or ghosts, the basis for many is reuniting loved ones, finding lost family, sacrificing for those you love most. Even the game's villain, who I won't reveal, is spurred to action by a somewhat misplaced concept of family. Shadows of Darkness' entire presentation is just so charming and fun to experience. The pixel art is beautiful, the world design entices you to explore it, and the soundtrack is lovely. These things, along with the wonderful writing, really make it easy to overlook some of the few flaws that do still exist. If there's one thing I hate in adventure games, it's a maze. And so many of these games have mazes. Here, it takes the form of the castle that looms over the land. Eventually, you'll find yourself inside it and be bombarded with a series of staircases and storage rooms that all look exactly alike and are very hard to navigate. And you'll constantly be attacked by bats. Why did it have to be bats? It's just a lot of screens to walk through to find a small handful of rooms that actually have something of interest. There are occasional bugs with the voiceover, like this farmer exclaiming,
Listen, I'm telling you, Igor's death must be avenged.
Dude, Igor's right outside, and I just asked you your name. The sound levels in general have solid, you're not my real dad energy, and no matter how you set them, the voice and music levels play by their own rules. There are also a few situations where I know what the solution to something is, but the game is really fussy about exactly where on screen I click to make it happen. This especially happens with the grappling hook. And just as a bit of advice if you decide to play this game for the first time, try using the talk icon on your own character. It'll give you different options than normal dialogue does, and I constantly forget about this despite how many times I've played. Also, be sure to download the game manual. This came out during prime time for the kind of copy protection that requires you to look up information in it. Here, it's to mix potions that you'll need with Dr. Cranium. Quest for Glory 4 is still one of my favorite adventure games of all time. I love how it combines RPG elements and lets you solve puzzles in multiple ways. Presentation-wise, it looks and sounds great and has some top-notch voice acting. Mordavia is a wonderful land to explore, full of supernatural dangers, a lot of humor, and some surprisingly earnest and heartfelt quests. I highly recommend you play this one. If you want to see more, check out my review of the first Quest for Glory game, or another of my videos. I have a Patreon if you want to support the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.